what's up, everybody? Welcome back to Call the Damn Leads, the show by sales professionals for sales professionals. I'm your host, Drew B. Wilson. With more than 2 decades in sales, I've seen it, been through it, heard about it. Now I'm bringing it to you, my favorite people in the world, the sales community. Because let's be honest, this is the greatest job on earth. Doesn't matter where you come from, what your background is, your personality type. If you work hard, you can create an amazing life in sales. And today's guest is no stranger to the journey. He's been a sales guy a long time, and he's got some good stories. It's Mr. Schuyler Williamson. Welcome to the show.
It's good to be here.
I appreciate you taking some time out of your busy day. And I want to jump right in, man. You've been around long enough. Let's hear a crazy sales story.
Yeah, it may not be that crazy for some, but at the time it sure felt crazy. I'm in Austin, Texas, okay, and I sell real estate. Many years ago, when I first started, I was selling houses, but I hadn't sold a whole lot of higher end houses. And the Army Futures Command just announced that they were moving, a base into downtown Austin. And along with that command, they had 3 generals that they were going to place there. And the beautiful thing was the Army was going to buy houses close to downtown for the generals that was barracks, essentially. So these are the most expensive barracks that the Army has and its whole portfolio of real estate. And on LinkedIn, I got a message from a guy that, it's like, hey, I've been watching you for, watching your post, and, I'm a West Point grad too. I got a project for you if you'll call me. And so it's like, well, what's your number? I had to run that down first because you couldn't find the guy. I mean, he was just a W-2 employee. Passed me his number. I called him. He's like, this is a unique deal. You're going to have to work half with the generals' families, and you're going to have to work half with the military, the U.S. government. And the beautiful thing for you is it's an all-cash transaction, so it'll be simple once we find the right house. But the house that we need not only needs to be grand and impressive for all these, Google's executives and Facebook executives, all these tech companies that the Future Command is trying to work with, but we have to be able to host large gatherings here. And they had a laundry list of items, not unlike any other person trying to buy a house. But it needed a safe room or the ability to build a safe room. It just needed a lot of things, right? And they gave me their budget, and I told them, I was like, hey, listen, I'll hunt some houses for you to see. But that budget in Austin, Texas probably isn't going to get it done for what you want. And they're like, well, let's see some houses. So I show these guys 4 or 5 houses, and they're just super discouraged. And they're like, I don't know if this is going to work out. And they go back home. This is a Saturday. And they call me Saturday night, and they said, hey, look, just show us what we want to see. Don't worry about the budget. Just show us what we want to see. And this was Saturday night. I had Sunday morning to show them a couple houses. And so, I worked hard on the phones, set up all these showings for them. I had 4 or 5 houses that actually could work. And to make a long story short, we were able to get 3 of the 5 houses under contract for the U.S. Army, cash buyers, closed in 14 days, the biggest paychecks on a single day that to this day I've ever received. And, in the Army, God bless them, they received a lot of flack after this because they spent so much of their budget on these 3 houses. They've used them. I've stayed in contact with the folks that live there. They've used them the way that they intended to use them, but it was a lot of money. And it all started with a LinkedIn chat, of all things.
I love that story, and I want to lean in on that for a little bit. It's funny that you would use that as your story because I literally just got off before we were recording this, was doing a coaching call with my consulting community. And we were talking about the importance of using social media to make people aware of who you are and what you do in a way that's not necessarily salesy or spammy, but these platforms exist so that you can get known for what you do. And the fact that you were able to, I'm sure we're posting on LinkedIn and had content and things that were going out there, but to get a message and have the biggest payout, of your record career essentially
Yeah.
from just being on these platforms. I love that. Were you someone who had the forethought of using these platforms intentionally, or were you just on there and it just so happened to work out?
In general, I'm a very intentional person. I'm not the sales guy that's super outgoing. I'll perform for you on this call, and if we were one on one, I would perform. But I'm more of a task guy by nature. I think about the things I got to get done. My wife, on the other hand, when she wakes up in the morning, she thinks about all the people she gets to visit today. We're both salespeople, but it's just the way we approach it. And so I read a couple of books, I read like the .com secrets, and I read, obviously I read continuously because I want other people's ideas and other people's models to plus mine up. But I had read a long time ago, if you just post every day, one time a day on the social platforms, the rest will take care of itself. And obviously I've made myself a student of the game over time, and I've learned how to be more effective with my posts. But at the time, it was post every day. And again, I'm not outgoing, so I'm not like taking a picture of me at a coffee shop, like smiling with the duck lips or anything, right? This isn't me. So I had to ask myself a question: what could I post about every day that would be on brand? Because I know what my brand is. That would be on brand and be valuable and kind of a gift to the world. And so every morning, Monday through Sunday, I read a business book for at least 30 minutes. And then I used to journal for myself. Well, I transitioned from journaling just for myself to posting my journal post online. Just so, like, look, if you don't like to read, but you want to consume the content I am, just read my post, because I'm giving you a chapter at a time in 2 paragraphs that relates it to how you can use it in today's world. So the last 2 books I've read have been on brain health, and I post every morning. And if you follow me on LinkedIn, you're going to get brain health content. And so I'm just shoveling value out there. And I know, and like this guy, he called me, and he thought I was a leader. Like his thing was like, look, I see you put a lot of thought leadership out there, because he had been following me on LinkedIn, and he called me about helping him buy a house. So I know if they like me, I know if they trust my intelligence that I'm putting out there, I know they'll figure out what I do, and then we'll partner on something. I trust that that's happened. But every day I put value out there.
Amen. And thank you for sharing that, because there's so many people who I've tried to explain that to over the years. It's like, you don't have to put anything crazy out there. Just talk about the things that you're doing in your life, share value, and others will see that and reciprocate. And so I think that's cool, because the same thing applies, in my opinion, during a sales call. I think so many people go into the sales conversation with this idea of like, hey, I got to sell this person, versus, hey, if I just help them get the thing that they're wanting, suddenly the budget isn't really an objection anymore. It's more about, can they get what they want?
Yeah. I mean, you used the word consultant earlier. To me, if you call me a sales guy, it sounds like I've got to have all the answers. Like, that's what it sounds like to me when you say you're a sales guy. I got to have all the answers, right? And if I don't have the answer, I got to be slick enough to dodge that bullet. But if I identify myself as a consultant, what I really got to be great at is asking questions to pull out of you exactly what you're after. And then at that point, it's either a fit or it's not, right? And so I can either help you with what I have because I'm a fit, or look, I can just be a great guy for you. I can help you discover exactly what you need, and then I can maybe point you in a direction to go get what you actually need and want. I think one of the biggest misconceptions for salespeople is they got to make every deal. You don't have to make every deal to have a great career. I was a baseball player. And so the beautiful thing about baseball is you can be 3 out of 10 when you go to hit, and you can still be a Hall of Famer. Like, I could strike out 7 times out of 10 at bats, and I could still be a Hall of Famer. So I'm good with it, man. Like, I'm good with just being a good guy, being smart, and a consultant for people. And I've done a little research ahead of the call. I think I'm a good fit for you when I called you. But if I'm not, it's okay. I help you out a little bit. Hopefully you'll refer me to somebody, and then I'll move on to the next one.
It's that right there. And I really, really love that, Schuyler, because to me, you don't need to do business with everybody who has a credit card and a pulse. It's a recipe for disaster. And the most successful people I've ever met in my life, and when I say success, it's not just a monetary thing. Like, I'm talking in every area. They don't have the answer to every question, but they know where to point you when you start asking.
Yeah.
And being someone who can consult and ask questions and understand at a deeper level where someone's trying to go or what they want to accomplish, and then being the person who holds the keys to that next phase, that makes you so valuable. And the beautiful thing is, you don't have to be the answer to every problem. You just have to know that when you are the answer, you're confident, without a doubt, you're going to help them get what they're looking for, which is what you mentioned when you were talking about the houses. Like, listen, guys, I can show you some things in that budget. I don't think it's going to fit, but let's start there, and then you get to make the decision how you want to proceed. That is high-level service, but it's sales at a very, very special skill set that you have to develop. What was that like for you? How did you, I mean, you've been in real estate for a while now. How did you find sales and start developing that skill set side of it?
Well, I'm likable. I can be likable. I can be funny. I can be warm if I have to. But I'm more naturally an educator. And so I want to educate my way to every sale. That's natural to me. I will come off much more genuine if that's the way that we can approach it, just together as a team. And I think the more I did that, the more I just approached it as an opportunity to educate someone on my way to a transaction, the more I refined my craft and the more I was able to ask these questions, because I just, in the beginning, I just went straight to educating about everything. But then, you see the glassy eyes and, they tune out, this and that, right? And, the husbands are very different than the wives in a lot of scenarios. So as I matured, I started just asking the questions up front, and then I talked about what they cared about. And then I talked to the wives about what they cared about, and then I would talk to the husbands about what they cared about, and then I would help them ask each other questions to figure out, well, is this a great fit? And it's no different to anything else that we do. We build homes, and when we're sitting down with a custom client to build a house for them, it's questions first to figure out what they care about, and then it's educating, right? And every once in a while, there's conflict within the decision makers. Like one wants the cheapest house possible, and the other one wants the nicest stuff that they can possibly put in a build. Those two things don't marry, and then it's just then it's a discovery, right, of the decision makers. Like, well, how can I create a therapy session here to figure out who's going to compromise with who and how we're going to get there? And I'll tell you, just because the home building process for a custom build is very emotional. And so when you're dealing with an emotional transaction, setting a deadline is the number one thing you can possibly do. And say, hey, look, we're going to work through this, but we have to make this decision right now. And even if we don't have to, it's better for the whole team. It's better for the marriage that we actually get that done. But those deadlines are so powerful too, of just forcing them to answer your question so we can move forward, kind of thing.
Yeah, I like that too. And that's whenever you're in a conversation with someone, putting the deadline on it and getting them to make a decision is important, because getting someone to make a decision is one of the hardest things you'll ever do on the planet. Go ask your wife what they want for dinner tonight. I don't know. Yeah. What do you feel like? I don't know. Yeah. I know you don't know, but if you did, what would you be? And so what I think is important too, because I don't like to be a very pushy, in your face sales guy. It's not my style. Yeah. I get the feeling you're not that way. Either being an educator, it's very much hey, I'm going to tell you what you got and you can choose yes or no. Yeah. And so I think the ability to have those conversations and get permission to follow up is what allows someone, like us to be more successful, because it's now, all right, cool. We're going to have this conversation. And also we're going to put a deadline on when it's time to make a decision.
Yeah.
And having worked with a lot of real estate agents over the years, what I've had to help guide them through is those nightmare clients that are like, okay, I want to go look at 6 houses this weekend, and then 6 houses next weekend, and then 6 houses the weekend after that. And it's like,
Yeah.
at some point, you got to pick a house, bub. Like, unless you're
Yeah.
in some crazy market, like, you just got to pick one and start making some offers.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and yeah, if you truly appreciate your time and the value of it, and you need them to move forward, you start to you put a dollar per hour rate on it, right? I mean, at some point, we have to make sure that we're not wasting time. And that, usually when you put a dollar per hour on these visits to homes, like they'll self-select out, right? Or you can, it depends on who you're working with. I mean, if it's a very direct person, you can do the dollar per hour. If you're working with someone that's very relationship oriented, you can tell them like, hey, listen, I've spent a lot of time on this, and it's time away from my family, or it's time away from my business, and I don't mind doing this for you because I care a lot about you. But if you care about me, can we just make sure that if you know ahead of time that this isn't going to fit, that we just cut those from the list, and that would show me that you care about my family and my business. And that usually when you position it that way, because these people, they care about us, they're not aware that they're abusing our time. And I just like to call it out. That solves it for me more times than not anyways.
That I didn't want to interrupt you because that's such great advice, and I know a lot of agents listen to this show, so I think there are probably some that still struggle with that, and it goes
Yeah.
back to what you said originally about asking good questions. If
Yeah.
you ask them what matters to them, like by process of elimination, you should be able to just go back, and when they say, well, these are the 6 that I want to see, you're like, well,
Yeah.
but what you already told me is that you don't want this, or you don't want to be farther than this, and I can already tell you, because of my expertise in this specific field, these are the
Yeah.
things you don't know what you don't know. But
Yeah.
now that you do know, though, we have to make a decision. Do you still want to invest your time, energy, and effort to go see something that's already outside of what you want?
Yeah.
Like I love how you kind of turn that on them of like, all right, well, I know you care about your family, and I care about my family, and we care about each other. So, like by proxy, we don't want to mess this up.
Yeah. Yeah. Like you said, remind them of their goals. And I mean, I can see by the pictures alone, or by the map, right? This thing backs up to a railroad. You've told me that, privacy and kind of low volume, like you wanted that. This is not that. It's the opposite of that. So I don't mind showing it to you, but is that goal changing?
Yeah.
And if they say no, that goal's not changing, then say, well, I'm going to respectfully ask you to just do a drive-by first. Because more times than not, as soon as we pull up, this ain't the one. The pictures look a whole lot different. Well, yeah, the pictures are there to get you in. That's the cheese on the trap, man. Yeah, but I mean, but also it takes a lot of confidence to speak that way with your clients. But that, a lot of that's just knowing your value and knowing that you're worth it, and you've thought it out, you've listened to them, you know what they're after, and this isn't it. And I don't know. I mean, I've never received a ton of pushback on that. I really never have, and that's because people do care. In America, we care about each other. We care about what each other think, and so if you're hurting me, you're going to change more times than not. And if that person doesn't change when they know they're hurting you, I mean, you don't want to do business with them. Like that's a pass.
Well, and that's the beautiful thing about, living in America and having that opportunity is to be able to quickly say, you know what? I can fire a client. It's pretty easy just to say, you know what? Hey, I'm not a good fit to help you solve this problem.
Yeah.
Maybe here's a recommendation to someone who can.
That's right.
Not
It
that
doesn't
you
even
want
have
to
to be
send
a
a
bad
nightmare
thing.
client, but like, it's not a big deal. It's just not a good fit.
And it doesn't have to be a bad thing. It doesn't even you don't have to say fire. I think some people feel bad when they use that word because maybe they've been fired before, or maybe they've had to fire somebody. But like you said it, we're not a fit. We're not a fit. My relationships, we don't communicate with each other the way that we're communicating right now, and that's not. We're just not a good fit. But I'll find somebody for you.
And
I like that.
I think what's fun for me in these situations, and I like how this conversation has kind of gotten to this point, is because, we mentioned earlier, not all business is good business, but
Yeah.
a real professional understands how to quickly decipher, hey, this is going off the rails. Let's put a stop on this. Let's put some boundaries in place. And I can say for sure that some of the best referral partners that I ever had were people that I had to have that hard conversation with of like, hey, listen, respectfully, what you're trying to accomplish and the way this is going, it's just not going to work. Let me send you to this person who's a little more your speed or a little more what you're trying to accomplish, because I don't want to put you in the wrong direction. And I've had that same individual sent me dozens of deals because they just respected the fact that I was willing to say, this isn't going to work. Here's the person you should speak to.
Yeah. Well, and they got real clear on your value, right? Like on your value proposition. Well, if I'm not a fit and this is what he says he really does, well, now I know exactly who his perfect customer is. And when you educate your team, when you educate your clients, when you educate everyone about who your perfect customer is, and it's super clear, when they walk past them in the streets, they're like, "Oh, I ought to send that guy to Schuyler." Like that's just that it. But it does require the front end work, like what you did. Like you have to tell people what your value is, and you have to tell them who your perfect customer is. And you have to make it clear, plain language, so that when they walk past them, they're like, "Oh, yep, that's a guy for Schuyler right there." Like I got to introduce you to my guy because he's the best at this.
Nothing makes me happier than when I'm someone's guy. Like you got to meet my guy. Like
that's right.
Yeah, I'm the guy. I'm that guy. Yeah. And Schuyler, I'm sure that, we could sit here and nerd out on and tell stories like this all day long, but I want to be respectful of your time and the listeners' time, obviously. So what's the best way for us to come and find out more about what you have going on? I know you do a lot of cool stuff and help people. Like, how do we come find more of your content?
Yeah, I'll share 3 ways with you. One, I've already talked about it. If you just connect with me on LinkedIn or X, every morning I post my journal for myself on what I learned from what I read in my business books. Go follow me there and just consume the content. I do have a website, SchuylerWilliamson.com. We have lots of ways that you can engage with us, not only just free content from a leadership development perspective, but, we have laundromat franchises, we have investment opportunities in our development projects, and then obviously we sell houses in Austin, Texas. And then I wrote a book titled The Steady Leader. So if you go to thesteadyleader.com, you can go check out what the book's about. And I'm working real hard to sell that, and I appreciate anybody just taking a look at it.
That's awesome. Congratulations. Is that your first book?
That's my first book.
Congratulations, man. That's awesome. It's a big deal to put a book out. So you guys go check this, go check out his book. I'm going to make sure I got links down in the show notes and in the page and everywhere you're listening to this so you can go see it. Schuyler, man, this has been a really fun, engaging conversation. Now, before I get out of here, I always like to get one last little nugget from you, because what's cool about sales is there's always someone new coming in the door, right? And maybe we get lucky enough that new individual, they just happen to stumble across this podcast, or someone they know shares it on social media. If they're getting in the door and they're just getting started in sales, and you could give them one piece of advice on how to be successful, what would you tell them?
Man, it isn't that hard. Grow your database every day, communicate to your database every day, and follow up with opportunities. Just do those 3 things. If you did those 3 things, you don't even have to be good at sales. You will sell. Sheer numbers will take care of it.
I couldn't say it better myself, my friend. That is a great piece of advice. If you guys enjoyed the show, you got some value out of it, send it to a friend, send it to a colleague, send it to a terrible salesperson that needs to learn a thing or two. Let's get it out there. Let's get it into the world. Go check out Schuyler's book. I mean, let's be honest. This is the greatest job ever. So if you're here and you're listening, you already know what to do. Go call the damn leads. We'll see you on the next one.